Alright, I think I did it. Howdy do everyone. Welcome to streaming live from our living room, making Tuesday suck less. The lovely Mrs. Comic is in the chat. You're looking at a piece of Klee artwork. I'm struggling here a little bit. I'm hacking away. I got phlegm balls. I'm doing that thing where I'm saying I'm not sick, it's allergies. So we hope that's the thing. So I'm gonna be hacking up some shit tonight. That's keeping with horror movies right there. I'll be a little extra crazy, believe that or not. Um, we're focusing on some horror stuff here, scary stuff. Let me a little backstory on that. Friend from the olden days had Klee artwork on his wall. Frank actually commissioned that and gave him creative license. Just to, knock yourself out. And that's an amazing frame, a nice piece of artwork. And then when he moved out of that house, gonna be a rough night. When Frank moved out of that house, he could not take that artwork with him. So that's a pitfall right there. I'm gonna shove a cough drop in my mouth. This sucks. Batshit balls. That's horror for me. If you want to know what horror, themes of horror is having to speak and hacking. That's gonna be rough. Mrs. Comic should take over tonight, and that would be a horror movie for her if she'd have sit in his seat and say dumb shit. Also, the Phillies dicked me by losing last night, so they're playing tonight. So if my coughing show is too annoying for everyone, just put the Phillies on. I'll put them on in the background. Although I don't think they actually start playing till 8:07. So there's that. I do have notes. I'm going to need them heavy tonight.
Susan said she's having allergy issues too. She hates the nagging cough.
Is that Clee's sister nagging cough? What the fuck is that? Like last night, I was choking to death on basically nothing. It's an old joke from my show. You just start choking on nothing, and then you can't get your breath. And of course, Mrs. Comic knows not to ask me any questions because there's people asking when you're choking, are you choking? Of course you're choking and you can't fucking speak. So that sucks batshit ball. I took the allergy pills, I took the cough drops, I took this, I took that. Alright, Pop, the show must go on. Here we go now. First and foremost, this year has been weird. October sucks for stand-up comedy, usually because of Halloween parties and playoffs and all that shit. I had yet another fantastic Halloween party gig Saturday. I can do this. I'll just like mime. I'll sign language my show. No. It only occurs to me how scary it is to do a house party when you're driving out in the middle of nowhere. And of course, folks must have some money because I'm kind of expensive, and that makes me feel somewhat good. But when you lose your cell phone signal, that adds an extra element of fear. But they were fantastic. It was wonderful. I hate to put the curse on it, but Halloween parties, I think I'd rather do them than comedy gigs in October because Phillies in the playoffs can't dick over Halloween party show. You have a Halloween party, it's set, they're going to have it. Doesn't matter if the Phillies on or not. And so that's really the boring story. That's such a boring story. So I'm going to talk about some more horror stuff here tonight. I was going to try to read it. I've been working on different writing projects. I've been working on an Amish ghost story, and I had planned on reading some of that for you here tonight. That would be one of the fucking dumbest things I could possibly think of. So why not do that? Let me see if I can read It's not edited at all. It's rough draft, and there's notes galore. So I want to click on that. I can't see myself now in the live stream, so that's weird too because I can usually see me. And it's also weird if I can't see me, but I feel like I have to see me because when I perform live, I can't see me anyway. But when I stream live, I feel like I have to see me. So that's kind of a fucking weird thing about me. All right, so now Amish Ghost Story is I haven't decided yet. One of the problems with writing is I can't decide if something's going to be a horror story or a comedy story or the two mash up. But this is a cold read of the actual start. If this thing ever gets written, page one, chapter one of an Amish ghost story would sound like this. Yoder was dead. He was sure of it. He had no proof of his own death, no memory of how it might have happened, but he was sure he was dead. It seemed odd that he could have thoughts at all. Was his death really horrible? So horrible that he blocked it out? Maybe he was still sleeping. He don't know. Yoder had seen a lot of horror films. Now that's very odd for an Amish to have seen horror films, but Yoder had some awesome city friends, and that's what they did. They watched horror movies, and they watched them again and again and again, much like we all do now. But Yoder's friends used to like to watch a horror movie because if you have a chance to see The Exorcist for the first time and watch somebody watching it for the first time, that's what they did to Yoder. So Yoder watched The Shining for the first time, and his friends watched him watch Shining for the first time, and he watched Exorcist for the first time, and his city friends watched him watch Exorcist for the first time, while Yoder was trying to piece together how any of this could help him figure out if he was dead or not. He figured the answers must be somewhere in one of the hundreds of horror movies that he had seen. Now his friends there too, they watched him, but they didn't really have what was called a poker face. So his friends, unbeknownst to them, fucked up a lot of horror movies for him because whenever there would be a scary part coming up, he would see out of the corner of his eye, he would see peripheral vision. They would tense up. They would tap each other's elbows and point. Look, Yoder's getting ready to see the Exorcist pea soup vomit scene coming up. Now this never really ruined any horror films for Yoder, but it was a spoiler. He didn't know pea soup was coming, but he knew something horrible was coming. And so one of the greatest disappointments for Yoder, and he had recalled, was seeing The Shining because Yoder had never really seen any kind of sex in any movies. And when Jack Nicholson was going to get a piece of ass in the bathtub of room 237, that all got ruined because they all were giggling and watching Yoder as the lady turned into a horrible piece of shit bucket of goo. That's the worst sex scene ever come to mind. Yoder realized that none of this was going to help him figure out if he was dead. Yoder also was pretty damn sure he was a ghost, but he had no proof of this either. So Yoder was going to try to figure out if he was dead and also if he was a ghost. And all he had was these clues. And he just kept thinking over and over the dumb horror movies he'd seen. Children of the Corn had been such a tremendous disappointment because Corn didn't possess any horrific qualities whatsoever. The Corn actually was a non-issue, and Yoder was somewhat disappointed. You know, Children of the Corn, oh boy, corn children. No, it just happened to be on a fucking farm. So Yoder's trying to process all this. He was sure he was dead. Not so sure if he was a ghost. Not so sure if he was dead. Yoder thought about doing something that they do in a lot of horror films that wasn't going to work for him, and that got him a little disgusted because a lot of times in horror movies, people are dead and they don't know it, and one of the ways they find out they're dead is they happen to meander across cemetery and stumble upon their own tombstone. And Yoder couldn't do this because his people didn't use tombstones at all. They had wooden crosses marking the gravesite on the hillside. No fanfare, no here lies Nazi Fagin, none of that shit. So Yoder was thinking also, if his Amish brethren did use tombstones with commemorative carvings, wouldn't really be that helpful to him anyway, because just the sheer amount of Yoders alone would make it a daunting task, and Yoder would have to be running through hundreds and hundreds of Yoder tombstones looking for the proper Yoder, and he'd actually forgotten what his first name was because he's hanging around with these asshole city people too long, and they just called him Yoder. So Yoder actually just kind of sort of forgot what his name was. Had he been alive, he probably could remember it, but in his death ghost-like status, Yoder just figured he was Ghost Yoder. But he thought, man, if it was a horror film, that would be perfect. He would just wander onto the cemetery and it would say, here lies Yoder, the Yoder that you're looking for. Died last night, hit by lightning. He always wanted electric, and he finally got some. We never should have given him that kite for his birthday and the metal roller skates with the key. So, as you can see, this is really fucking stupid. So, he couldn't find Yoder on the tombstone. Yoder dead, and the ghost was still a mystery. So Yoder figured the only way he was going to solve this mystery was just to kind of pretend that he was alive and go through the motions of the day. But Yoder noticed that he didn't smell anything Amish. He didn't smell the manure, and he didn't smell the chicken coop, and he didn't smell all the smells that smell of Amish farm. Thus, that was a point for him possibly being dead, even though Yoder realized he had no way of knowing if a dead Amish ghost named Yoder could smell stuff. How did he know? He was just making shit up as he went along. So Yoder thought he might feel sick at the prospect of being dead, but he didn't actually feel sick, which also made him think he possibly was dead, and a ghost, assuming that he was dead, Yoder, dead ghost, probably wouldn't feel sick. Death, not knowing what it felt like, probably didn't feel like you were just sick. That has to be two different things. So that's about as far as I got before I started hacking up shit. So I've been working on some stuff. Let's see if I can get out of this thing. Move this over here, and there's that. Oh, and I come back and there's Kevin Keller in with a $10 tip. Tripper, I can't even say it. Trip or treat. Trip or treat. Richter's in there with $5. Yahoo. That's greatly appreciated. It really is. Clee Sister's always in with it early. Thanks for streaming bribe. So much appreciation there. That's my Amish ghost story, and I'm making all these kind of notes about what the problems of the Amish ghost would have are all the cliches, the tropes, whatever they call them, of classic horror films. The Amish ghost wouldn't have none of that shit to work with. They wouldn't have a mirror to look in. There's no mirror, so that would be a problem. They couldn't have the candles that went out mysteriously, because candles go out mysteriously on an Amish farm all the time. How the fuck would he know if somebody left the barn door open or not? The best thing that he could figure out was that the smells would be off. So if he didn't smell pie, that could possibly mean that he was dead, or that nobody made pie. So he's having all these kind of things going on, and the horror movies also have these horrible, horrible smells, which the Amish farm already had. So there'd be no way to see if that was a death smell or just an Amish farm smell. So, and he'd be walking around, Yoder, and then he remembers seeing Night of the Living Dead, which he basically thought was Amish people walking around, dead face and all that shit. So we're working at, coming along slow but sure. I had hoped to have this ready for Halloween, but there's no way in hell it's going to be ready for Halloween. Which brings me to next week's episode. I have to do something big, because it's artist Clee's sister Clee's birthday, Halloween. We used to always go and party on the cemetery. Since it was only 3 or 4 of us, they never called the cops. and the ghosts didn't seem to care if they were there. So I'm fairly certain that I cannot stream live from the cemetery, but I gotta do something. I gotta film something. Maybe I should write the Amish ghost story and read it and film it in the graveyard, and then present that as it won't be live, but I could just present the thing. That's an idea. So I've dug up some of this. So the reason the Klee artwork to me is very special to Halloween is Klee's artwork has this kind of like a dark, ghostly feel to it, and it was not designed to be Halloweeny, but that's how it kind of went to the dark side. In fact, a lot of his pieces creeped people out. Now he also had a fun, silly streak. This is a great cartoon, and right there it says a maniac killer named Nit had a style most bizarre and unfit. His victims he'd lure down an old rusty sewer and drown them in piles of fill in the blank. So Klee let you fill in this horrible thing. The simple answer would be shit, but that would be too easy to do. So that is this. Look at that drawing right there. That's fucking scary. That's a cartoon. It's scary. It's fantastic. I have some more of these floating around here somewhere. And then we have that you saw there. That's the wall right there. The beauty of this piece is, to me, Klee never had to explain this to anyone. It just existed as a thing. And I I would actually be very curious to see when Frank moved out of there if the new people left that intact, or if they got rid of it, then they're fucking douchebags, and then probably Ghost of Klee should be ripping through that wall. That would be pretty awesome if Klee, as a ghost, went back to where his artwork was, and like the guy in the Johnny Depp movie that kept coming back with a hat on, saying, "I'm coming here to fix my story," and Klee could fix his art story. I like that scenario. That might wind up in the thing.
What if the artwork keeps bleeding through, coming back?
The art, that's very good, Mrs. Comic said. What if the artwork keeps bleeding through the wall and coming back? Now we're cooking with gas. I like that. That's going in my Amish ghost story here. So we got this here, and I put this one. You saw this one last week, but I couldn't figure out how to biggie size it. This is beautiful and also creepy. It's just so when I think of Halloween, I think of my friend Klee, and I think of his artwork. And I don't know if you know too much about art and performance specific to any person, but there's a style, and it creates itself. And Klee's style was definitely kind of dark and bleak, of which the people complained at the art shows. Your style's a little dark and bleak. No shit. I don't think it was accidental, you stupid fuck. But so right here, let's see if I can find this other one. I thought I had one more, not that. But it's here. Nope, that's a show plug right there. All right, okay. I know what I did. I only had a couple in here because I didn't want to get too over the cuckoo's nest with different Klee artwork. I have in my room right here. Let's see, there's my live scene. Off to where you cannot see it, I have 1, 2, 3. I have just 4 or 5 of my favorite Klee pieces, and these things. And there's one right over there, Mergus. You can stare at these things. There's one that you can stare at it, and it's interesting because Mrs. Comic and I have looked at it, and we will see different faces in different parts of this. It's an etching, and we will also see them as different genders. So as you say, that's interesting because I saw that as a scary old lady, so I saw that as a scary old man. So I'm going to get some of those things featured somewhere along the line. Absolutely incredible. I had some more heads. I think I started coughing. I was like, all right, fuck it. So that's it. So we're gonna do something for Clee's birthday, Halloweeny, artwork related. Um,
We'll all do a toast.
we'll all do a toast. That's right. We'll do a toast, and we'll. I'm guessing a Patreon party on the graveyard would be probably something we should try to plan better for possibly next year, because I don't think there's any way for me to secure permits for a thing like that. But well, we can do that. And once again, we're talking about some horror stuff here. I have different. There's horror movies that I love that are really bad, but I still love them, and I can recommend them. And there's some that are really bad and you should never ever see them. Some I'm on the fence about. One of the most incredible horror movies that I saw that I can't even really recommend, but you should see it. It's called Rubber, and an actual car tire goes nuts and is like a demon possessed, and it's not a car like in the movie. Whoops, Duel, but there's a Stephen King one.
Oh, yeah.
Christine is the car that drives around and fucking kills everyone. It's just a tire. Mad respect for the budget of that, because there's a tire, and you're like, fuck it, man, that's amazing. That's a horror movie right there. We'll just fucking roll it. And it's actually pretty scary when you see a car tire rolling. I would imagine it's pretty scary. Thanksgiving is a classic. That's kind of amazing in a horrible kind of way. Um, there's a 4th of July horror film called Uncle Sam that you should probably watch over the summer. It's terrible, but you kind of sort of have to see this thing. Let me check my notes here. Here's one that I saw. I think I got blamed for picking it, but I actually did not pick it. And this film, I cannot recommend it. In fact, I must unrecommend it because it's called Terra Firma. And it's so fucking horrible that I got hell from Mrs. Comic and our grown up daughter for just saying the name of the film after we'd seen it. It was traumatic to see this thing. Do not see Terra Firma. That's a terrible thing to see. Ouija Shark. Gotta see it. You gotta see it. It tells the tale. It's a Ouija board that conjures up an evil shark. And because it is conjured by evil spirits, the shark doesn't really need water. So the Ouija board is played with, and the evil shark just can float all fucking around. And that is absolutely one of the most wonderful bad horror movies you will ever watch. I especially love some amazing old black and white ones. Do what you gotta do to see Robot Monster. It is a black and white film. It is probably the budget was about $87. There's a thing in a gorilla suit, basically. That's what he's in. And they've destroyed all of mankind except for like 5 people. And the 5 people are running around trying to stay alive, hiding near a cave. And it's a little kid and his older sister and her boyfriend and their parents, and they all have weird accents like they really shouldn't be in the same family together. And the monster's called Roman, and it's the kind of people. It's either Roman or human, and the robot monster actually falls in love with the girl, and he wants to know. This is a spoiler here. If I was a man, would you treat me like a man? And then he does a thing. I've got a fucking line. He's like, I must, but I cannot. Because he's trying to figure out how to have this girl. I must, but I cannot. Where on the scale do must and cannot meet? That's a fucking great line. Where on the scale do must and cannot meet? Check out Robot Monster. And also in the cave, more spoilers, there's a more powerful gorilla alien on a TV called Great Guidance. And the gorilla in charge of killing all these people has to run up and down this hillside, and he can't see in his gorilla suit, so he's doing like a tippy foot thing, and it's funny that they run away from him because there's no fucking way he could catch him, and I don't know, this actor who was ever in this thing should have got some sort of raise for just having to run up and down a hillside in his fucking gorilla suit. That's badass. Robot Monster. Make sure you see that. I'm having some more notes. Oh, this isn't a horror movie, but Mrs. Comic and I have been power watching the old Buffy the Vampire Slayer series. They're fun, they're silly, they're stupid. I have to warn you, the monsters are all ridiculous and they make me giggle. I must also warn you that the person who did the series has no knowledge of human behavior whatsoever. All the relationships in Buffy the Vampire Slayer are written fucking stupid. They're really written fucking stupid. But they have some amazing vampires there. Spike is fantastic. Now, Angel is also a vampire. And let me show you how immature I am. So, Angel has this. It's, I don't know if you see that. You see that? That's a Clotter ring. And in the Buffy the Vampire Slayer series, Angel went back, he's like 4,000 years old, I don't know what it is, and he got Buffy because he fell in love with her. And that's another thing that's fucking stupid. Buffy the Vampire Slayer falls in love with a vampire, and their friends all give her a bag of shit about it. But like, hello, Vampire Slayer, you're having sex with a vampire, you don't see any problems there. He gets her this special Clotter ring from Galway in Ireland, and it's specific to like the first jeweler in Galway or Ireland. And I, being silly and immature, when I took my wife and daughter, well, I didn't take them, we all went for this wedding. We went to the Buffy the Vampire Slayer Angel Clotter ring store, and we have official Clotter rings. And flying back, somebody from Ireland said, "Oh, the Clotter ring, that's good look at this." Yeah, that's not why I got it. I got it in Galway, like the Vampire Angel on Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and I believe that's when he stopped talking to me on the flight. I'm not exactly sure. So that's the level of immaturity that we are right now.
Stephen Lynn asked, "Did you ever watch Motel Hell?"
I have seen Motel Hell, not recently, but I'm probably ready for another watch. Also, Clee's sister might have said to watch Phantasm. So what we do is our daughter, our grown-up daughter, and her boyfriend, they love horror. They have all the horror things. We do the synchronized watch in our respective homes. Phantasm came up on that list, and our daughter, who also has a great comedic mind, we were about halfway through this thing, and she said something that I didn't realize was true. She said, "I've seen this before, and I'm seeing it now, obviously, and I don't have really the slightest idea what it's about." And that's how it's a great Phantasm. It's an absolutely incredible horror movie, but I just saw it a couple days ago, and I don't have fucking any idea what it's about. I do remember that one guy, and I guess it might be the Phantasm guy, I don't know, he's kind of a creepy guy. He picks up a fucking casket with a person in it by himself. That's a clue that somebody's a little fucking off. So that's a great watch right there. Here's another one that I can't really recommend, but you also have to see it. Killdozer. Yes. For those of you waiting for the punchline, it's a bulldozer gone fucking nuts, and it terrorizes people on a beach. And it's really pesky, and it's hard for them to put this thing down. They've tried to, I don't know if they could just maybe yank a spark plug or drain the gas out, I don't know, but they can't fucking stop this killdozer. And more spoilers, there's like one construction guy, it's a construction site, and there's a big showdown, and he has like a wrench, and he's there like, "Come on, dozer." And that makes me laugh. I don't know what it has to do with horror, but check out Killdozer. There is no shortage of Dracula vampire movies, and you probably can't even see them all, but if you have a chance, Dracula AD 1972, Dracula has to hide in time, because they're like 300 years old and they can time travel. He goes back to like the 70s, and it's hippie shit, the 60s, I think 60s, 70s, it's all hippie shit, and they got those hot pants. They have hot pants on, and they have the boots and the disco and all that shit, and plus vampires. So check out that particular Dracula right there. um, I'm trying to suppress a cough here, so fun thing for me that happens every year if I'm lucky. The town I live in Emmaus has an excellent Halloween parade. It's not as good as it was, but I sound like one of those old people. It's not like the parade it was, but it's on a Saturday night. And if I'm lucky, I can't see the Halloween parade because I have my own show. But we live inside of the Halloween parade route. And if I don't get outside of the protected zone at a certain time by like 4 o'clock, I fucking can't. I fucking cannot leave. And that's what happened. They locked this. They locked the perimeter, the parade perimeter down.
Barricades.
Barricades more severely this year than I ever remembered. And they got smart with blocking off all the alleys and the side streets that I used to slither through. So I actually couldn't fucking get out, and I was panicking. I already moved my car to a place where I thought I could leave, but I fucking couldn't get out, so I had to make 2 mandatory dick moves to leave. And if push comes to shove, I just go up to the barricade and fucking move it. So that's always exciting for me, because it's all well and good to barricade off a neighborhood with the parade route, and fuck whoever lives here. If you have to go anywhere, if you're going to the movies, if you're going to the ball game or whatever, you are fucking shit out of luck. It's like a known thing. I'm Whenever there's new neighbors, nobody tells them because they usually want to see the Halloween parade. But I did make it out. I made it to the Halloween party gig. And then when you come back to town, there's like no fucking signs of the parade at all anywhere. So that's kind of fun. And when I can't leave my house to make it to the show, and then I wound up leaving my cell phone here. But I actually have a backup phone. Mary the cat has her own phone, which I use for travel, Waze, and all that shit. So Mrs. Comic called me on Mary's phone to tell me that I forgot this phone. And I said, I can't fucking come back for it. I'll just use the cat's phone. None of that is scary except when you leave your home without your cell phone. That's fucking scary. That's fucking scary. I don't, I'm going to TikTok live, wherever the fuck it is. So that was an exciting adventure for me. Halloween parade night. And also the Dracula cat that we are fostering quite possibly forever growled at the Halloween parade, which I have mad respect for. You people that have cats, there's only a couple responses to loud noises. Wind whipping around, loud shit. They get scared, scaredy cat pun intended, and they just fucking run and they hide somewhere. Or they don't hear the sound at all. Now Mrs. Comic was reporting me that Caesar, Count Dracula cat, was growling. See, the parade don't actually go by here, but they have like a big joggers thing. The joggers come past here, and they have a little mini float or truck, and they're playing footloose music and all that shit. And then the runners come through it as people all clap for it. They cheer. Caesar Dracula growled at the applause for the runners and for footloose. excuse me. I'm sorry I missed that. Here's what I like about that, because when the cat's making the decision to be afraid or ignore it, I believe when a cat growls like that, it's complaining. I also believe that the cat believes its growling complaint can affect some sort of change, like this fucking parade, do something about it. That's pretty amazing. Mrs. Comic didn't really listen, and she didn't really do anything to thwart the parade. So that was all kind of fun stuff. The cat. That's the kind of message I get when I'm out traveling about. I'll get to sing. Caesar growled at the parade, and I laugh, and people think I got a dirty picture that I'm giggling at, but it was Caesar growled at the parade. There's that. Um, chunking through my show here. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for tolerating me. I wanted these things to be more scary than they are, but then once I start coughing and hacking up, that becomes its own scary thing right there. I'll flip it through a couple of pages here. Oh, I already covered that. Clee cartoons, Clee's cemetery birth. I gotta do something, man. We gotta at least have a toast for Clee on the cemetery. I have always been obsessed with the Salem witch trials and also the history of what people think is hell and Satan. Um, I'm of the mindset that there's no hell and there's no Satan, and that the ministers way back said, I'm a wizard. See, the Amish and every other religion didn't happen until the invention of the printing press. First Bibles, they had them, and 9 ministers had them, and then whatever they would say, that was the word. It's like Sling Blade. He grows up and he says, I learned to read the Bible, and it turned out a lot of that stuff you mom told me wasn't in there. That's actually very accurate. And with the invention of the printing press, people started their own religions, and they started to interpret their own different things. And I believe this, that the ministers of the time created the idea of hell and Satan to scare the fuck out of people so they wouldn't try to bang off sheep and stuff. That they try to keep people in some sort of sane mode here. Now, that is actually what I believe, which leads us to the Salem witch trials. Fun fact, they didn't burn witches. To burn them at the stake, it's all the movies, burn witch, burn the witch. They actually did not burn the witches. The first witches back then, they hung them, chopped their head off, or I think they piled rocks on them for days. Like, here's another boulder, they just put a fucking another one on, and however long you could stand it until you'd be crushed. Fuck. Some witches died in prison, and check this shit out. From the Salem witch days of 1692, about a dozen of the witches, so-called witches, escaped. So those witches went and ran wild, and they had sex, and they birthed. So people could be actually related to some witches from the Salem witch trial days. But again, let's be serious. There's no witches. Witches, to my way of thinking, were a result of the first men being intimidated and afraid by women who had thoughts and opinions, because it's a very sexist society, and still even now. So when women had ideas to do anything, they must be a witch. So I believe that happened, and there's more other theories I have. Fermented wheat made them go fucking nuts and hallucinate, and there was also smallpox outbreak, and there was fear of war, and people were nerves were fucking shot. And so anybody who behaved weirdly got suspected of being a witch, and mostly all the tests for witch you couldn't possibly fucking pass them. It was a doomed thing. If they put the witch tag on you, you might as well report to the gallows to be hung because they had the dumbest fucking. I wrote them down here. Let's see. Okay, so and sometimes kids were accused of being witches. And how do you prove that you're not a witch if you're a kid? Kids all fucking behave weird like witches and shit. I mean, for fuck's sake. And they accused some dogs. Again, we've all seen our animals behave weirdly. So by this criteria, all of our fucking animals are weird. And that's actually a thing that's scary. You'd be sitting in a dark room and you maybe have a little bit of the EBGBs. If the dog or the cat comes in and they fucking stare at something you can't see, that's fucking scary. And by the criteria of 1692, those cats and dogs would be fucking witches. And the other bizarre thing at the witch trials, the court allowed, I hope I say this correct because I sound like a dumbass. It's a big word. Spectral testimony. Now, what that was, which I didn't know, was if you had a vision, that was good enough. So people could come in there and say they had a vision, and that would be testimony. Why that might sound like a kangaroo court, the judge actually had no legal experience anyway. I don't know if they just said you're a judge to do that. So that's fucking weird if somebody could bear witness against you being a witch because of the vision they had. Because mostly everybody who fucked me over in show business would be dubbed witch or warlock to my way of thinking. So that's some crazy weird shit then. And most of the accusers of the witches were kids. And what the fuck? Kids have imaginations. They have sense of humor. They make shit up. They have imaginary friends. So the kid thought up, oh boy, that person must be a witch. Boom, roasted, and you are totally fucked right there. And that probably was the first imaginary friends. And for a while, they didn't have imaginary friends because that lent itself to being a witch. Now, they also had it's kind of scary shit because they had a doctor and a judge and a minister in this little fucking community. And the doctor, if they thought someone was a witch, the doctor would examine them to see if they were a witch, to see if they were possessed and under what they call the evil hand. Now, all you really had to do to become a witch was have the thing pointed at you. The dumb tests that they had, the swimming test, where they actually would tie you up in a rope, fucking throw you in the water, and if you would sink or swim, I don't really know which way it was. It was bad either which way, but loose. So, and I can't swim, and Mrs. Comic can't swim. So if somebody threw the witch tag at us and tied us up with a rope and threw us in the lake, we couldn't even swim if we weren't tied up with a rope. So we would be gone, boom, roasted. So apparently, well, I've been babbling away 45 minutes. I haven't even really had, I don't even feel like I've done any kind of show here. Quiet, you're not the boss of me. So people who couldn't swim apparently could be considered to be witches. They also had a prayer test, and the suspected witches would have to recite scripture from memory and or read it. And if they fucked up anything, witch. Public speaking is fucking tricky. And most people fear public speaking more than death. So it's not like they had a big run on people who could quote scripture smoothly. So that was a total fail right there. They also had this is do you know the expression of witch's tit? That's actually like a real thing, and they actually the perverted motherfuckers they actually examined the women's breasts to see if there was an extra nipple. I'm not making this shit up. and anything passed for it didn't have to be like an actual, oh boy, look, there's a nipple and there's another nipple. They actually, mostly anything could pass for another nipple, a freckle, a bee sting, poison ivy, nipple, witch with extra nipples. That's fucked up. Witch cakes. I'm, I'm not blogging off on any of this shit. Do your own research, but this one fucking grossed me out. There were witch cakes where they needed a victim, so they would take urine from the victim and bake it into some kind of pastry and let a dog eat it. And based on how the dog responded to the piss cakes, that would decide if that person was a witch or not. So you were fucking doomed from the get go on these things. Um, let's see here. Oh, they had another one too. They would have somebody who they thought was possessed, and somebody else who they possibly thought was a witch, and the person would have the opportunity to say some sort of incantations to remove the witch from that person. And of course, that never fucking worked. So, boom, he had to hang him right there. Uh, so, that's fascinating shit. A lot of the stuff that scares the fuck out of us is just made up shit. Um, so, now that seemed more interesting when I was writing it down. But Salem witch trials, that stuff fascinates me. Tragic times.
Susan said her ancestor, Susanna North Martin, was her relative. They called her Goody Martin, and she was hung for being a witch. And she has testimony from her trial. It was like 3
Oh
pages.
my fucking fudge. Clee's sister has witch ancestry. That is absolutely amazing. And did she, Mrs. Comic just told me that Clee's sister said she had a relative who was actually hung for being a witch. That really explains Clee. As tragic as that is, that's fucking crazy shit. Clee's sister, we got to get you to the cemetery. We got to get Clee's sister on this fucking show. That's a more fascinating story than anything I've babbled here tonight.
No,
And this is kind of like a really fun, amazing thing for me and Mrs. Comic, because we could sit here, I could babble on all night long, and nobody would predict that Clee's sister would come in and say, "Oh yeah, we had somebody in our family who was hung for being a witch." So I hate to be happy and applaud for that, but that's fucking badass shit right there. That's crazy shit. Holy smoke! We are through here. No shit. Clee's sister, we should talk more. That's something that actually could have. Why the fuck didn't even Clee tell me that? Maybe he didn't know. I don't know. But that's actually kind of really amazing shit. And now I'm a little bit creeped out. So we better spend it. That fucked me up. Congratulations.
She was one of the Salem witches.
She was actually one of the Salem witches. Wow. I'm going to need to know which one. Because Susanna North. Because there's actually not that many of them. You know what? I had this information all pulled up my fucking iPad. So she was hanged. So she would have been one who obviously didn't escape or get stoned with the heavy rocks. She had a trial. Wow. Please, sister, why don't you take over this show tonight? I mean, that's fucking badass. That's crazy pants shit right there. Holy smoke. Wow. All right, now, never mind. Whatever else I was going to say, it's going to be really fucking boring after you come in here. You know, that's kind of a thing where, please, sister, if you go to a comedy club and a comedian starts talking to you and asking you shit, throw that at them somehow. Like if they say, you know, what does your family do or whatever? Well, yeah, somebody, my great aunt Clee, my great aunt Clee's sister was one of the Salem witches, and she got burned. So there's that. Got anything clever to say about that? No, I absolutely do not. That's really some fascinating shit here. So now I'm going to try to change subject here a little bit. Movies that I like. This guy is amazing. The William Castle films are fantastic. Check those out. They are fun. Uh, Oddly enough, some of them are really scary and creepy. Some are mostly ridiculous. Here's the one I was looking for. Before that's the original. The other, that's amazing stuff. I'm old school. I love Frankenstein. And again, a lot of these things are really poorly written because Dr. Frankenstein is about to be married. And the family's all waiting to have the big announcement party and all this and that shit. And he goes fucking nuts. And everybody's worried about him. And his best friend is trying to console his bride to be. And he's like, well, he's a lost cause. You can fuck me if you want to. It's really fucking sleazy. They to hit on each other's girlfriends, but still, Frankenstein's are fantastic. There's your Buffy the Vampire Slayer shit right there. Clee's sister, boy, you really fucked me up. That's well, I'm very impressed. How do you top?
That's amazing.
That's absolutely really fascinating shit. You you should be speaking at like Salem witch trial reenactments. Do they have that like a Civil War reenactment? A Salem witch trial reenactment. Uh, that's some really fucking crazy shit right there. I also believe that. So, I'm gonna fuck the name up. Somebody's like house. I don't know if it was a housemaid or their person who took care of everyone had Native American uh, blood. She said Taituba, whatever her name was. So they were already afraid of her because of Native American uh, witchy voodoo shit, whatever. So that was a train wreck waiting to happen. Oh my god, this is fascinating. Please, sister, I might have to call you. I'll be coughing. I can't talk to you tonight. That's some really fucking crazy shit.
You can Google her.
Make sure you got. Do I have that name?
I have it.
Okay, Mrs. Comic has it. I'm going to be Googling. This is amazing. I'm having entertainment here. It's ghost night. I'm going to be Googling about witches later tonight. That's absolutely incredible. Um, are there any of 30 pages? What is that? I'm peeking through the things. Oh, that's all, Mrs. Comics. I'm reading Mrs. Comics comments, and she's sitting right there. I could have just asked her. Are there any questions here tonight? Because the Phillies are playing now. They're losing 1-0. There's no. I promised Win Barber's widow that the Phillies would win tonight. I based that on I would like them to win tonight, so that makes her happier. That's all sports gambling I got going on there right now. Um, are there any questions? Anything going on here? Richter last week said tell a Clee story. I'm still stunned that I didn't have one at the ready. Um, but again, what kind of Clee story to have that is better than this? You, you really had someone in your family who was a Salem
Yeah, it's one of the 14.
witch. One of the 14. Wow, that is absolutely incredible. What? Oh my goodness! Our daughter, Clee's sister, our daughter was just up there. Her boyfriend, they did a tear ass up the coast weekend trip, and he went to where the Salem witch trials were. This would have been more interesting information had we had this a month ago.
I'm sure
But
they'll go back.
we don't talk witches enough. That's what happens right there.
Martin is her mother's maiden name.
Martin was the mother. That's incredible shit. That kind of explains Clee's sister's parents because they definitely seem like they were too nice and too calm about everything, almost as though they were beholding to some witch coven. Or if they got too excited about anything, they didn't want to fuck with things. So that's absolutely really incredible shit right there. I got nothing. I mean, I'm absolutely stunned here by this witch news.
Yeah.
I sort of feel cheated now. I'm like, why can't I be related to a witch that was hung? Salem witch. Jack the Ripper or somebody. Phantom of the Opera. I should have somebody famous that I'm related to. That's some crazy shit there. I remember this, Clee's sister. Clee and I were once just walking. This actually scared the fuck out of me. I don't know why. Because me and Clee were dumbasses and we ran around smoking dope and just saying shit. But he actually scared the fuck out of me because we were just walking. We weren't even in a cemetery. We were just walking down to the parkway. It was in the middle of the day. I would say we were floating. It wasn't a wear his shoe heel down day. We were just kind of walking. And he turns to me. He goes, "What if when you die, it's kind of like smooth and just like walking and like taking steps. We were back there at the bridge, and then we started to walk here. What if we somehow just walked into death and we're actually dead now?" And he said it in such a way it actually scared the fuck out of me. I thought, man, that is a fucking weird thought.
That's
Uh,
deep.
I went on to realize that I wasn't dead because I figured ghosts couldn't drive cars and shit, and then I got us the fuck out of there. So that was kind of pretty nuts. Let's see, Richter's in there. Paul, any stories about traveling out? Oh yeah, Richter, that's you called me off on a good one here. I don't know the name of the theater, but there was a theater in New Jersey that I performed at quite a few years ago, and it was a community theater, and it got run down, and they let it go, and then it got reopened, and it was really a nice, beautiful old theater, and they had. If you ever been to like a really awesome community theater, the backstage it had levels, and like just wooden levels, and they had different platforms. It didn't really look safe at all, just for cameras, for lighting, for whatever, and then have some asshole climb up on a wooden ladder and go way the fuck up there. So 5 minutes before I'm ready to perform, my friend Stein, who watches some of these, uh, he wasn't at the show, but he was texting me that he just remembered something about this theater, and 5 minutes before I was going to go on, he had me look up to one of these levels, way the fuck up, and he said that somebody during an actual play who was in the play commit suicide and just fucking leaped off that thing and splattered like right where I was standing. There's planets where that's really cool, and then there's other planets where like, why the fuck would you tell me that 5 minutes before I am ready to perform? So that's some crazy shit there. Um, this really fucked me up. Now I'm gonna do this. Let's see here. I don't think I have anything all that exciting to say. Uh, although this is, I'm bragging. This is actually, I think, 4 Tuesdays in a row. That's actually kind of a world record of consistency for me for presenting the live stream shows. Even though this one was lacking content until Clee's sister came in there with the related to the Salem witch, is fucking blown away. I'm gonna be contacting our daughter tonight. She's gonna love this shit. Um, that's pretty much it. Mrs. Comic ran out of the room, so I can't possibly end this live stream now. Um, so I'll just sit here, wait. That's kind of scary, ain't it? See, sitting quietly like that is actually scary until I fuck it up by speaking. So there's that. Um, let's see here. More scary shit. No, I got nothing. I got absolutely nothing. I have absolutely nothing. Let's see. I was especially Twin Peaks stuff. Uh, Twin Richter loves Twin Peaks. We love Twin Peaks. If you haven't seen Twin Peaks, you really need to start at the beginning. At season 1, season 2, season 3. Firewalk with Me. There's levels of this. What I love about the David Lynch scare and the horror is a thing that has fallen away from horror entertainment in general. A lot of shit is not explained, and back in the Clee running around hippie days, and Frank and Mrs. Comic, we talked about that we actually loved scary shit where they didn't explain everything. Like one not bad writing. Bad writing is just like fucking bad writing. But weird shit would happen and they wouldn't explain it. And that can be the scariest fucking shit that there is. There's a scene, it's a David Lynch film, it's not Twin Peaks, but um, Lost Highway has a scene that is so fucking scary that Mrs. Comic will watch it with me, but it will have an impact on her, and I can guarantee there will be some nightmares that night. Now, the guy's head in this thing is really fucking scary. This guy at this party, and that's kind of scary because it's not a costume party. Everybody's like normal, and there's like this weird fucking ghost ghoul head that nobody seems to fucking care is there. Nor if this head walked in, you'd be fucking screaming and flying off the fucking rafters. But everybody's like immune to it, and so he is talking to someone at the party, and he's telling him something. And he gets like a phone call, and the guy's in his house somehow. He's in his house, and he's standing right there at the party at the same time. It's really fucking creepy. And he's just like, when were you in my house? He's, well, I'm there right now. And it's really fucking scary. Check out Lost Highway. They don't really explain a lot of this shit. And I like that they don't explain it. It's absolutely incredible stuff. So I like some of that stuff. Eraserhead has some very scary shit in it. And again, Richter, back at Twin Peaks, I don't want to do too many spoilers. Twin Peaks not only has scary shit in it, Firewalk with Me, there's just weird fucking scenes and weird characters that just are so incredible. Richter, this one's for you. Twin Peaks, original, season 1, season 2. Anytime Cooper falls asleep, fucking strap in. That show was set up because he was investigating this shit FBI all day long. And he'd be lucky if he got any sleep. And shit came to him in his dreams all the time. And the fucking big giant would show up and he'd say weird shit to him and it would happen to him in the real life and then the giant would fucking come back. And the man who worked there, tall, lanky, old man, just a guy bringing milk was fucking scary because, spoilers, Agent Cooper's laying on the fucking floor, shot, possibly dead. He doesn't know. He's saying his last will and testament on a voice activated recorder, hoping and praying someone will come to save him. And the tall old man comes in and brings his milk and is completely oblivious to the fact that Cooper's shot and fucking laying. It's really fucking scary. He's laying there bleeding out, and the guy's like, I heard about you. I heard about you. And he says it, he says the thing again, and that's fucking scary. And then he will all of a sudden be back in the moment and go, that milk is gonna get cool pretty soon. And he don't explain any of this fucking shit. That's absolutely creep fucking tastic. Not really also a horror film, but one of my favorites is Sling Blade. Absolutely incredible. When the Billy Bob Thornton, whatever the fuck his name is, plays a Sling Blade character. At the top of it, he's getting ready to be let out of a mental institution that he spent his whole life in because when he was 10 years old, he chopped up his mother and her boyfriend. And he tells this whole fucking story. And that's really, it's worth it to watch just that speech in Sling Blade. So they generate a lot of terror in some of these things that aren't necessarily horror films. That's one of my favorite horror scenes. It's not even actually a horror movie. And I can't get this out of my head that Clee's sister has a relative who was a fucking witch. The Salem witch trial who was fucking hung. And she has a credit. She's actually a credited witch. That's fucking crazy
She
pants.
just healed people with herbs, and they thought she was a witch.
So they heal. She used to heal people with herbs, and they thought,
She was a witch.
yeah, and that's a theme they use in film all the time. It's covered in Wheel of Time with the Aes Sedai, and they have weaves and potions and all kinds of shit. And if your guts are dripping out, then you want to go to the witch and have them stuff that shit back in there. And then as soon as you're fixed up, they're like, fuck, you're a fucking witch. This is really bad. Well, you didn't give a flying fuck when you were putting the guts back in, but now that you're all healed up, now she's a fucking witch. That's a scary concept. And again, that goes back to if she made herbs to heal people up. That became a theme in a lot of stories where whatever the normal town would be, there was a witch on the outskirts who couldn't live in town because she made tea to heal people and all that shit. And people all sneaked to the healer to get the teas. That's a theme that has stayed in in horror films. So that's kind of fascinating shit too. We don't want to. We don't really want an evil witch, or we want a witch that can heal us. But then that becomes frightening too. I don't really understand what the witch rules are. Um, I'm gonna be watching all this witch shit tonight. I can promise you that. It's absolutely incredible.
Susan said, plus she was very opinionated.
Oh, and Clee's sister says she was very opinionated. This falls right into my logic of men being intimidated by intelligent women. So here was a lady who was opinionated. She knew stuff about healing, herbs, and all that kind of shit. And there were some really basic things that I don't know specifically, but there were really basic things that came along, like aloe. The plant aloe has healing qualities. So if hypothetically, if Clee's sister's great witch, Salem witch trial, which was familiar with the healing powers of aloe, somehow that became like fucking witchy because it's actually just like goo
Like
in a plant or any kind of teas or whatever. That's really fascinating shit. What happened? Oh, Philly's just tied it up. It's 1-1. Yahoo! I shouldn't really watch the ball game while I'm talking about witches here. So, are there any more questions? This has really been a fascinating show for me. Thank you, Clee's sister. That's absolutely incredible.
I think we used to go see Eraserhead at midnight movies with Mark.
We did. Richter, I don't know how old you are, but like a movie like Eraserhead, Twin Peaks didn't exist then yet, but you couldn't just watch it. You'd have to wait until it came into like a midnight movie or Philadelphia, the TLA, midnight showings. We'd have to travel far to see these weird films. I actually don't miss that. That was fun. I'm more of a lazy ass. If I could see something in our living room here, that's incredible. Clee's sister. I'm probably not going to do this, but I'm so obsessed with the idea of what you told me about you being related to an actual Salem witch that I know you and your family don't live in the house in Emmaus where I met Clea and where I met everyone and where you scared the fuck out of me with the puppet in the hand of the popcorn and we never thought it was you. It scared the fuck out of us. I actually think I want to go and knock on that door and say, you don't know me, but well, uh, my best friend, my nearest and dearest friend in the world, Clee, who's no longer with us, he lived here and his sister, Clee's sister, just told me that they were related to Salem Witch, an actual Salem Witch accredited one, not just one they fucking made up. And I would like to go walk around his house a little bit and see if I can pick up on anything. And maybe if what you should have really get like Chip's coffee in there to the psychic guy to run in and find the ghosts. Um, that's really some phenomenal shit. That's crazy shit. It is. It's very sad. It's sad, and I'm trying to make it be too much fun, but I'm obsessed with this. It melts my brain that I was just babbling here that the ancestry, there could be people running around who are related to Salem witches and Clee's sister coming in the house. That would be, well, as tragic as it is, I would totally showboat that. Susan Clee, I would have a T-shirt that said, "My great 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 aunt was an actual Salem witch," and I'd have her fucking credits on my. That's badass right there.
She said, "Go to the basement where Mark hung out."
Go to the basement where Mark hung out. That's where.
That's where you were.
Yeah, that's where we hung out. It was down in the basement. And perhaps there was some shit going on down there in Clee's basement because Clee's sister, you your parents didn't really ever come down there. And if there was any kind of ghosts, witch ghosts or anything down there, that would have been right down our alley. Um, for all we know now, some of that could be in these Clee pieces of artwork. They have kind of a mysterious, some have, I wouldn't call it a witchy look, but they have a kind of a mysterious thing inside of a thing. And there probably could be a Salem witch assist on some of this artwork. I'm not saying they picked up and moved the pencil around like a fucking Ouija board, but that vibration could be in Clee's artwork. That that could explain the awesome, dark, mysterious look of a lot of his art. It could have just come through uh, phenomenal shit. That's really phenomenal shit. I got nothing left. This is we're gonna leave on kind of like a flat note here, but this has really been a fantastic night for me and Mrs. Comic. We'll be up all night trying to figure out this. Google this Clee's Sisters Salem witch trial shit. Richter, it's not really ghosty, but Richter wrote a letter to a serial killer in prison, and he was a little disappointed. He was actually, Richter, I love you, but you were actually really upset that the serial killer didn't write you back. Mrs. Comic and I, on the other hand, were somewhat relieved that the serial killer did not write you back. Although if he did, that would definitely be worthy of a reading here on the live stream show. I've got nothing. I'm stunned. I have been rendered silenced by the Salem witch that I know. That's that doesn't get more Halloween scary than that. So if anybody who's watching this is related to anything famous or scary, Jack the Ripper, Frankenstein, Salem witch trials, Harry Potter, anything stupid shit like that, let us know. Drop it in the Patreon chat there somewhere. This was really fun and spooky. I'm going to do this. So what I do with these is I try to pop stills out so I can use them for promo, but I never really have a good face when I'm looking for them. So I'm going to make a couple of good faces. Serious face, and then I'm the one. If I do it for more of a count like that, then kerpow. That's it. Thank you for tuning in. We love you. Mrs. Comics sends her howdy doos and her thank yous for everyone for being there and your generous tips. And we will see you next Tuesday. I think we will. That's pretty much it. You guys are totally amazing. I'm gonna do this. Where is it? Show plug. Is that my show plug? That's my show plug right there. The shows to see though: New Year's Eve, Emmaus Theater, and day after Christmas, Sellersville Theater, Kutztown Fire Company, December 2nd. Arts Quest in Bethlehem will be of some Saturday in January. I can't even think about next year. And that's it. Have a wonderful week. Go Phillies. I'm happy the Houston Astros lost them cheating motherfuckers. That they got what they got fucking coming to them. And in fact, I didn't watch the game, but I hope the Texas Rangers, who I don't really like either, but I hope somehow they cheated. I hope somehow they cheated because that's fair. And from my days of radio, that's sports.